Welcome to Power On Weekly, hosted by your boy, Irving Legend, and your girl,
Allie Mayhem.
Allie Mayhem. Once again, thanks you for joining us for Power On Weekly for the week of August 3rd through the 9th.
Yep.
And check it out. We upgraded.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Got some arms.
Yeah, we got some boom arms.
We got some arms.
Yeah.
You know, got some iron. Hit some iron.
Yeah.
Got some arm.
Well,
I don't
know if they're iron, but
you know.
Anyways, we got some nice little boom arms. Hopefully, we want to increase. Like we're learning how to like make this work like better and better,
and try to increase the quality.
Yeah, as the weeks progress and everything. So this is our next step.
Yeah, let's try to increase the audio quality.
Yeah,
a little bit.
So I think this will be a good direction. Now the other thing we have to worry about is the echo.
Echo.
Yeah, but we will
work on it slowly.
Yeah,
we're gonna tweak as we go.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So,
but how pro do we look?
Yeah, we look pretty pro. Hopefully, we sound a little bit more pro. But
I think we do. I think from the tests we've done, it like just minus our echo, it sounds delicious. Sorry,
I forgot to put the timer in my
Forgot the timer.
I'm sorry. Okay, well, forget about the timer. We've got a couple things going on this week. Very early on in the week, Spider-Man. There's an announcement from Spider-Man coming to.
He made an appearance.
Yeah, he's gonna make an appearance in Marvel's Avengers, as well as Apple finally saying something about the Project Xcloud that is not coming to Apple products. And then we had a question of the week. So let's jump into it. Spider-Man is coming to Marvel's Avengers to be fair, it's going to be free DLC next year. So 2021.
Okay.
Regardless, that's a lot of people are pissed, myself included.
Oh.
Yes.
I did not realize. That's why you want to talk about this. I get it.
Yeah. So it's coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 and only those two systems. Now the game is being released on PC and Xbox, and PC and Xbox. It's not like the Tekken thing, right? So like when Tekken 2 was like released, like they got like anyone on GameCube got everybody on GameCube got Link. Spawn was on Xbox, and Heihachi from Tekken, he was on PlayStation. So each console got like their own character.
Their own exclusive.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, we're not saying that at all. So it's not like we're getting, I don't know, like Wolverine on Xbox and like Mr. Fantastic on PC or something. Like, no, it's just PlayStation getting Spider-Man, and that kind of sucks. Now, it doesn't really surprise me because,
Sony owns Spider-Man.
Well, they don't. Yes and no. Like they have a good relationship, and I mean they have. Insomniac did their Spider-Man game. They also. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Damn.
What?
Nothing. Sony. Insomniac did the Spider-Man thing. They're also doing Miles Morales for PlayStation 5. So it's not really surprising that Spider-Man is coming to Marvel's Avengers. But it is also surprising because that's a whole different studio. Like it's Crystal Dynamics that's doing this Marvel's game. So like again, it makes sense, but then it doesn't because it's not even the same developer who made in like the Spider-Man game on PlayStation.
I don't see this as surprising at all. In fact, I think it's as frustrating as it is. I think it's a brilliant step for Sony.
Yes. Because
who owns PlayStation? Sony. Who owns the rights to Spider-Man? Sony. Yeah. Like, ow. I'm gonna have to get used to there being stuff in my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's brilliant. It makes sense. And like just because two different studios are working on the Spider-Man game, it's still a Sony property. So it's not surprising in the least to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're a Spider-Man fanboy and that's important to you, then you should be on Sony. It's simple as that. You should be on the PlayStation. I think I get the frustration. I do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me. I think I'm not upset because it's like I would expect it. They have a very, very popular character that is in that universe. Mm-hmm. Why not throw it in?
Yeah.
No, does it hurt for anyone not on Sony? Absolutely.
Yes. So it is a smart move. And I mean, like, this isn't like anything out of the ordinary. We've seen this before. I mean, I've said it like with the whole like Soul Calibur thing, but also like Destiny as well. Destiny was they had a year exclusive content including guns that were so strong that by the time that they even came to Xbox, they weren't even the same guns anymore. Like the Hawk Moon is what I'm talking about, as
Yeah, they
well
got
as
nerfed.
like as well as like strikes and stuff, like other content. So we've seen this before. Sony has done this, and to be fair, ironically, Xbox has done this as well with Crystal Dynamics. As Crystal Dynamics made Tomb Raider, and Tomb Raider was a timed exclusive on Xbox as well. And I'm pretty sure it was all the way up until like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So, and they had, I think, a year for the original one, for sure, is what I know. So it's kind of ironic that Crystal Dynamics had this exclusivity with Tomb Raider on Xbox, and then flipped the switch now, and it has an exclusivity with Marvel's Avengers, right?
Well, here's the difference, though,
Mhm.
is this. There's differences in a lot of ways. This is an exclusivity that will never come to Xbox.
Yes.
I can guarantee that.
Mhm.
Because again, look at how stingy Sony has been with that Spider-Man franchise, like ownership. Like,
Yeah.
look at how there was that big debacle with Disney last
Mhm.
year
Yeah.
over renewing for another Spider-Man movie. So I can tell you that they're not going to play nice with Microsoft and let that ever come over. But at the same time, it's also a single character. So it's not to the same extent of an entire game is locked out for a year, and it's not to the same extent of content
Mhm.
and tons of content like the Destiny thing.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's also very hurtful that it's like, you will never get this outside of Sony. But at the same time, like,
I think that's what it is, right? It's
Yeah.
like the whole like the Destiny thing, like time exclusive, like Destiny and what Tomb Raider. Regardless, it was gonna come. Those content did come to the opposite platform, so it's completely understandable. But like you just said, like Spider-Man will never see. You'll never be able to play a Spider-Man on PC or Xbox if you're one of those people that are playing on those consoles, and that is the thing that kind of sucks. It would be one thing, right, if Sony got like the original Spider-Man, like Peter Parker Spider-Man, but then like everybody else got like maybe like Miles Morales or like another version of Spider-Man or something. Peter B. Parker from the Spider-Verse movie, the
Yeah.
lesser one. I don't know, but I guess it's just that like. And the other question I have too, and this kind of goes into what I was saying, is that we don't know if crossplay is going to be a thing, but if it does, and you are able to play PC with Xbox with PlayStation across like a lot of games are doing nowadays, right? Crossplay is becoming more of the norm, which is really fortunate for us. But if this game does go crossplay, does that mean you as an Xbox fan just get to see all your Sony friends swinging around and all that other stuff like that? That just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
I don't know. I don't think it's a deal breaker. I don't think it's a game breaker. I think what it does is it opens up a very easy decision if you are someone who owns both consoles. Clearly, you're going to buy that game on PlayStation if you don't have an excuse, if you don't have the reason of like, oh, my friends are all in Xbox. You're clearly going to just go for that extra little bit of content because it's there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I do think the smart move would be for Microsoft to somehow secure some sort of exclusivity as well, just so it doesn't feel like you're just getting shafted. Because like you said, I remember when you were playing Destiny and stuff too. I remember how frustrating it was to be locked out of that content. Not only be locked out of it, but for a year. That was a long time.
Yeah.
And that was kind of similar to this vein, where it's a game that was released and available to everybody, but you had a lot of things you couldn't access. I think Microsoft would be really smart to do everything they can to secure something. I don't know what they could do.
Yeah.
But if they could figure something out, I think it would make Xbox people feel a little less crappy.
Yeah. I agree, and a lot of people agree that they should try to do something like that, right? Throw money at Crystal Dynamics and try to just get some sort of exclusivity deal, whether it be, Wolverine because X Force or X-Men for Xbox, or even like Deadpool. Like Deadpool would be like such a good character for Xbox,
Yeah.
Because like that's the thing about like the whole Spider-Man thing. Spider-Man is arguably like the most popular Marvel character.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
that's why Disney was so willing to almost spend whatever to get him back in that franchise or keep him there.
And so like so this is also why it kind of stings. And like going back to what I was saying, like, yeah, people have been asking for that, but Xbox in general has not really been a fan of that kind of
exclusivity thing.
Yeah. They've said it outright before, and they've said like, that's not how we want things to do. We don't want to, like alienate people from experiences and stuff like that. And they just don't want to play. Not saying that this is playing dirty, right? But they just don't want to do that specifically.
Well, because they don't want to make other people feel the way Xbox fans feel right now.
Yeah.
And is this Microsoft's fault at all? No. Like, unfortunate for Microsoft, they don't own a property that is a big moneymaker, that is a popular character. Like, Sony is just in a very good position. Like I said, it was a smart move on Sony to capitalize on that. Absolutely. But it's, like I said, it's just unfortunate because it's like all the cards laid out perfectly for Sony. It's a game that was going to be on PlayStation that they had a license for a major character. It was smart.
Yeah.
But that's exactly why Microsoft is moving away from the whole exclusivity thing. And it makes sense because it's been decades of kind of this, well, I have to pick and choose. And not everyone has a lot of money to have both. And then, oh, well, I picked this one and now I kind of wish I was on that one because of this one small thing. And no one wants to spend $500 plus another $70 on a game because you have one extra character. It's not enough to like completely move people over to another console, but it is enough to, like you said, like for hardcore fans of a franchise to just be like, wow, that's really disappointing. And I really feel like shit because of this. And I like that Microsoft is kind of, I think on top of like the exclusivity thing never really did as much for them as it did for Sony. But I think they also understand we don't want, like you said, they don't want people to feel alienated. They don't want other people to feel the way you guys feel, like the Xbox people feel right now. It's not a good feeling.
No, it isn't. And it just, it's sad. I understand. I completely understand where Sony's coming from, and I, credit to them. That's the smart move, really smart. But at the same time, in especially the direction that Xbox is going with this generation, it's just kind of like a little off-putting to see that sort of like old school like console generation mentality.
Sony's still doing it.
They're still doing it, and we've brought it up time and time again about like that. So, that's pretty much all I really had to say about it. The only other thing that I want, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say the big difference too is when it's an exclusive game. You're like, okay, I'm never gonna touch that. Yeah. There's no, unless I buy a console. I think it is a different kind of crappy feeling when it's like it's a game on all platforms and you get something special. That isn't a good feeling.
Yeah, like I kind of if it was like a skin, right? Like an exclusive skin. Like you get the Sony Spider-Man the suit that he gets, right?
Yeah.
It's exclusive to Sony. You can only get it on there, and it makes perfect sense because that suit, like it made its debut on that game, right? So like I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, the red one with the white pinstripes and
yeah.
But like if that was a thing and like Spider-Man was going to come regardless to everybody else, but you can only get that skin on there, I think that would be reasonable, right?
Yeah, because this is a gameplay element. It's different. It's a different thing. And then too, like again, like that's not enough to like move most people into a different console completely. So like they should maybe like, I would like to see maybe an exclusivity on Spider-Man and then they'll open it up to everybody. And then you know what? Any of the DLC for Spider-Man would be a huge percentage and a huge licensing fee to Sony. So then, because then again, like they're missing out on money opportunity. But I get it. They're more in the club of it's exclusivity and it's come join our club instead. Like they'd rather lose out on that little bit of profit than give it out to everybody at some point just for the money. It almost feels like it doesn't even have to do with the money. It has to do with that exclusivity and kind of being a part of something.
Definitely.
You're a part of this, not that.
Yeah. No, it definitely does feel like that because it'd be one thing if it was like, oh no, this is for like fan service for fans of Sony. But it's like I said, they could have easily just done like fans of Sony. You played our game on what's it called or not, regardless, like you get this exclusive skin. Like I think if that would have been the thing, we would not even have this conversation right now. But because of that, the internet is ablaze and they're not very happy. The only other thing that I wanted to say as well is that the beta is out right now, the Avengers beta.
Yeah.
And I've heard mixed things about it.
Huh.
So I don't even know if this makes a difference anymore because people are not as excited as they were.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No, not
I
good.
I definitely wasn't excited for this Avengers game when they announced it.
Yeah.
And then I saw the war table like a couple months ago and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Like this looks cool." And then people got their hands on it, started hearing things, from like hearing people's impressions, and it's just not really doing so hot right now. It's trying to be two different things at once, but not
Mhm.
succeeding at both of them.
Oof. Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how this game does now, especially with this kind of negative feedback as far as like the Spider-Man thing on two
Yeah.
two sides, like with PC and Xbox versus the Sony and everything. So I'm curious to see what happens with that on top of the impressions that people are getting right now. This game comes out in like October, I want to say, so they don't really have a lot of time to iron out the things that people are kind of complaining about it. Which the two things, like I said, they're trying to be two things at once. The loot, it's a looter kind of shooter thing, like kind of like Destiny, like Division, like these kind of games where you go and you just do missions, and get loot and you upgrade your character. But that's the issue. You upgrade your character, but then maybe your character isn't available in another mission later on, and now you got to play as another character that you didn't really spend a lot of time in. Or if you're playing as a group, right? Like if you
Yeah.
pick like Iron Man and I pick Hulk, right? And then we join our friend Justin and he also plays Hulk or he plays Iron Man, then you guys can't play the same character anymore, and now you've spent all this time
Building up that character.
and now you got to restart it all over again with another one, which I'm not really that like it doesn't really bother me because I'm used to Destiny. Like I have 3 different characters and all that stuff. But at the same time, if I log in and I'm playing as my Warlock, I'm not going to get locked out of a strike or a raid because another person's already playing a Warlock.
Yeah.
It's like everyone can whatever. So, and I understand in the context of this game because it's heroes and you can't have 2 Iron Men or 2 Hulk, running around at the same time. But
yeah.
I think that is what part of like the reason why people are not really feeling it right now. So let me know what you guys think about Spider-Man coming exclusively to PlayStation. Does it bother you? Does it not? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. And yeah. Apple has finally talked about the reason why Xcloud is not going to come to the Apple products. So Xcloud is releasing on September 15th, which is if you are a Xbox Ultimate if you are an Xbox Ultimate member, you have access to Xcloud.
You're an Ultimate member. I see it in the corner where it says Irving.
Yeah, over here. Yeah, it does, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you are a member like myself, you are available to play Project Xcloud on September 15th, which is their streaming service similar to Google Stadia or Nvidia GeForce Now. We talked about this before. I've talked with this about Xcloud, our opinions, with our good friend Steve. So if you missed that episode for some reason, make sure to go check it out.
We'll link it in the description below.
Yes.
Is that how you? That's how you YouTube, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Or you put it like here
somewhere, maybe. If not, it'll be in the description. But if you're curious to know what that is, please go check out that video. As far as what Apple said, there's a reason why they're not putting this on their Apple service.
Take it off, maestro.
Take it off?
Yeah.
Take it away?
No.
Oh, okay.
I really want you to take it off.
Okay.
Right here for the camera.
No, it's not that kind of show. So Apple did say in a statement, and this was sourced by Eurogamer. This is an article that they published. They said, our customers enjoy great apps and games from millions of devs, and gaming services can absolutely be launched on the Apple Store as long as they follow the game guidelines applicable to all devs, including submitting games individually for review and appearing in the charts in search. In addition to the Apple Store, devs can also choose to reach all iPhone and iPad users over the web through Safari or other browsers on the App Store. So what they basically mean is that the reason why they're not allowing a gaming service on here is because they can't individually review and show off their games on the App Store. So, for an example, like they have to go, like every game that's available on there has to go through Apple's like, you know, what they said. They're like they have to go through them and everything, and they need to be able to be searched through on the Apple Store, as well as have reviews and all that stuff individually. So that means games like Halo, Gears of War, Forza Horizon, all the games that are available on there, they have to be on kind of the Apple Store in some way or another. And that's only because Apple needs to make money off of this somehow too. Xcloud is just a service that you pay Microsoft for. If you download their app, if they were to do this, you're just downloading a free app from Apple to do a service that is paying their direct competitor, by the way. So no duh, there's no way that they're gonna let this happen. Now the argument is, right, that well, what about things like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus? These are all services that, yeah, you can buy some of these movies and TV shows and all that stuff through the Apple Store, but you're still streaming them, right?
You don't have to individually have every single movie on there and review it. And I get that maybe video is a different medium, so they have different guidelines, but it seems utterly hypocritical.
Yeah.
Because first off, when it comes to Xcloud, a gaming service, you guys aren't competitors in that.
Yeah, no.
You're not.
No.
You're not competitive. So it's not like you're just giving money to your competitor for things that can be bought on the Apple Store. And then, like I said, just the streaming thing is absolute hypocrisy because, like you said, like it's the exact same concept, just with video games. So why are you okay with a streaming service for video being on there without having to review every single movie and show? Why are the games being treated differently? I mean, what you said was, right, that there are videos you can watch on, let's say, Netflix that you can buy through Apple.
Yeah.
So if the argument has anything to do with money, then saying that, like, oh, well, by having my competitor on here, I'm giving my competitor money and I'm not getting anything out of it is a really poor argument. Because if I can watch a movie on Netflix and I have a Netflix subscription, I'm sure as hell not going to go buy the movie on Apple.
Yeah.
So you're actually, by offering Netflix on your phone, you're losing out on money there.
Yeah.
Like the money argument doesn't make any sense because you're literally giving them the option to watch something for a subscription and not buy it. If you couldn't like, you know, access Netflix, then you might be more apt on a long trip to go and buy a movie because, okay, well, I won't have access to my Netflix. I need something to do. I love this movie. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
So like that argument doesn't really work in my opinion. And I don't know if it's just competitors being competitors.
I think at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? Like they're saying this because they have to make some sort of like, oh, in our fine print, it's actually this reason, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, like Apple and Microsoft are competitors in some way or another. Maybe not in gaming, but like Apple does have their gaming service, which is like Apple Arcade, which they're not putting out like Gears of War or like Forza Horizon level games or huge or whatever, but they are really good games on the Apple Store on Apple Arcade. So in a way they might compete, and who knows where, you know, mobile gaming will end up in the future, but I think that's really the fine line kind of a thing just to kind of throw out there, is like just kind of like a facade for them to be like, we just don't want our competitors on our platform, and that's it. Because it's not just Xcloud. It's GeForce Now, it's Stadia. They've been having issues with playing nice with Apple and their products since they've started. So it's nothing new.
It's not just Microsoft, basically.
Yeah. So in a statement made to The Verge, Microsoft representative said, our testing period for the Project Xcloud preview app on iOS has expired. Literally when they announced the date for September 15th, they took it off the Apple Store. Like, I don't know who pulled the plug or whatever, but pretty much that day that they did the announcement, they just pulled.
That sounds like behind the scenes issues, not this.
Yeah.
If they were willing to put it on beta.
Yeah, so it was like in a beta form. They continue by saying, unfortunately, we don't have a path to bring our vision on on cloud gaming with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to the gamers on iOS via the Apple App Store. Apple stands alone as the only general purpose platform to deny consumers from Xcloud from cloud gaming and game subscription services like Xbox Game Pass. It is consistently treating gaming apps differently, applying more lenient rules on non-gaming apps when it comes to including interactivity content, aka Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus.
Dang, they just straight up called them out.
I mean, yeah, and Epic boss Tim Sweeney also didn't hold back, and he's been really vocal about what he calls Apple's 30% taxes. So it's not percent, it's percent. Yeah, 30% taxes. Apple takes 30% of sales on the Apple Store, which is probably why Google Stadia, Nvidia GeForce Now, Microsoft Xcloud doesn't want to play by those rules. Basically, they don't want to pay them
to have
30%
it on, to have their service.
Yeah, that's
on the thing.
Yeah.
So this all sounds like it comes down to money moves from
Both
Apple.
sides.
Well, yeah. But like Apple being like, it may be a free app, but we want a percentage of people from the people who are using them on our device.
Yeah. It kind of sucks too, because like they are losing a big portion of people that own an Apple product and play Xbox. Perfect example is Jordan, our cousin Jordan. He has an Apple phone. He was playing the Xcloud thing. The only thing available on there was Halo 5. That's the only thing you can play on that preview program. And he played it occasionally here and there just to like test it out, the connection and everything. And when this news came out, he was all like, dude, like that sucks. Like, I guess I'm getting an Android. Like, I don't know if he's being serious or not, but like how many people do you imagine also said the same thing, right?
That's what's exactly going to be my argument.
Yeah.
So how do I put this lightly? I get it. And it goes back into game exclusivity. It goes back into a lot of things we've already talked about. But when it comes down to the fact that you have something that isn't a direct competition from you and will never be a direct competition for you, why not give your consumers that option? It just doesn't make sense to me, because even if they were going to come out with their own gaming thing, like, I could see it.
Maybe.
Because, all right, like there's a lot of games that aren't exclusive to Xbox. But the fact that it's like Xbox has all these exclusive games, they have all these partnerships that Microsoft doesn't have. And Microsoft's never going to be able, I'm sorry, Apple, Apple's never going to be able to have just Halo on being paid for on their, I don't know if I'm making sense, on their service.
Yeah. They're not Steam, right?
Yes.
They're not like.
Yes. So there's not a direct competition. So at the end of the day, when and it kind of goes back into the Sony thing, like when you alienate people like that, it isn't always a good thing for your brand. It isn't always a good thing to have like a community that's just us and it's just the things we do. And if you want to do something else, well, that's too bad. Like in this situation, like you said, you're having a lot of people who maybe because Apple doesn't have their own gaming console. So it's not like in that ecosystem, well, I have something that I'm using for Apple, so it makes sense because all this ties together. The Xbox, they don't have that. So I feel like I'm going in circles here.
You're fine.
Basically, like, yeah, you are going to potentially, I think you're losing more than you're gaining by being stubborn and being like, no, like you're losing those potential customers who maybe aren't as in the Apple ecosystem, and this is something that they would want, that they can easily just be like, all right, well, you've given me a reason to look at other options. Why would you ever, as a company, try to give people that reason to look for another option when it's something as simple as putting this in your store, letting them have something that you don't even offer, and making your customer happy and keeping them there because it's here. I don't even have to think about looking elsewhere. I don't have to think, well, I really like that and that's something I would really use, but I can't access it. And just to be completely honest, that's something I have always disliked about Apple
Mm-hmm.
and their ecosystem, and that's the reason I never got into it. I don't no offense to Apple at all, because I think their products are great. I think their company is great. They treat their customers with respect. They treat their employees really well. Like, they're a great company, and I also see why people are so in love with Apple.
Mm-hmm.
If you want something easy and you do want everything to work and you do want to be in that singular ecosystem, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But if you're someone like me where I like the freedom to be able to do other things,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't like being told no, then it's really hard to get on board with that. And that's why I had an iPhone, and once my contract was up, I moved on to another phone, because I just was I realized very quickly this is not the environment that I want to be in when it comes to my electronics. I don't want everything to be stuck in one,
Yeah.
in one area and not be able to go out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It just, I guess maybe if you're a part of Apple, you're not really seeing what you're missing out on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not giving people that option, it just, it goes back into I see both sides. I really do.
Yeah.
I can't ever, any of these companies, I can never fault them for the decisions they make.
Mm-hmm.
But again, why give your consumers any doubts if you don't have to, if it's not actually going to affect your bottom line that much? A happy customer is gonna stick with you forever. And I don't think Apple has a lot of unhappy customers, but why even have that little percentage?
Yeah. I completely I agree with you. I completely understand where they're coming from as a business standpoint and everything like that. At the end of the day, it just kind of sucks for those people that are Apple, own Apple products and stuff like that, and they're fans of Xbox, because now they're being alienated in a way that it's completely out of their control, in some way, form, or another. I mean, they can easily go get a Samsung or whatever, but like you said, it's once you get into that Apple ecosystem, it's kind of hard to get out of, and that's how they get you. Right?
Oh yeah.
When it comes to your music, your cloud storage and all that stuff, you have to play it on there, and that's it.
We talked about this before we started the podcast about how this is gonna sound mean, but so it's almost like owing a loan shark. How you're just stuck. There's no getting out of it. I don't, maybe not a loan shark, but you're trapped though. It's I guess you got that ball and chain the minute you're in too deep, because
it's almost like you signed a contract but you really didn't, because that you kind of can't get out of. I don't know what you're trying to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, but just like we talked about how 10 years ago when I got my first iPhone, I remember I was so excited because of all the things you could do. I was so excited that you could download music and listen to it on the go and all of these things. But I had a PC, and I very quickly learned that even though I'm an iPhone user, it doesn't play very well with the PC at all.
No.
In any aspect. And then I learned very quickly, oh, all these songs I purchased, I can't listen to them off of an Apple product.
Yeah.
And that really bothered me, because it was I can't transfer to this, I can't transfer it to that, and being stuck just in that one spot.
Mm-hmm.
It was here's what it is. It's like being trapped on an island. You may love that island, but the minute you realize that you're trapped on an island and you can't get off, it's
or you have things on that island and you can't take it with you. Yeah. You're
if you decide to leave, you decide to leave that island and go somewhere else, that's everything that you've worked for and you've purchased and you've done, it's there, and there's no taking it anywhere else. It's just
Yeah, when I switched over to Samsung, I had that notion in the back of my head,
because you had a big investment in.
Kind of, yeah. I did have. I had the MacBook, and then I had my iPhone, and I kept getting the next generation of iPhone. I stopped at 4S, I think, and I had that where I was I've got all my apps on here, I've got all my photos, I've got my music on here. I can't lose all this stuff. Oh man, if I do, that's gonna suck. As soon as I switched, all that went out the window. I didn't even care. It's so crazy. I was just I didn't really play those games that much, and I could just put those on my MacBook and the photos and the music. And that's the time when Spotify was getting really popular. I'm well, Spotify's a thing, so why do I even care?
No, you're absolutely right. With the rise of Spotify, that music thing kind of became an easier hit, but it's still money you spent on a product that you have no access to unless you have something that supports Apple. And that's really frustrating. And I think that's more of the point I'm trying to get across with Apple is it's like, if you love Apple, it's fine. But if you aren't quite as sold on Apple, then Apple is definitely an all-in company. And I think that's the thing, is you're all in on everything with them, because if you don't, things just don't work right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, going back to this whole Microsoft announcement, I get it, because that's their whole thing, being all in on us. Everything works together. Everything we develop is, like, we do everything to make sure everything works right and everything's good. And it's like that's their thing.
Yeah.
So not wanting Microsoft to be a part of that thing, I mean, I get it. But again, you don't do gaming to the same extent. You don't have a console. And yeah, there's people who are going to miss out on this really amazing, cool new technology.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not even just Microsoft. It's all these companies, because they're all competitors and they don't want the competitors to be part of the ecosystem. And it's unfortunate. Like, I don't know if it's enough of a game breaker for a lot of people to like jump ship from Apple, because people love Apple. But it is enough that anyone that's on the fence or rocky enough might be like, all right, next phone, I'm gonna go elsewhere. Because like I said, that's what I did with certain things.
Well, it's funny you say that, because there's been a lot of like what is it? Like commercials. There's been a lot of commercials that Samsung is their new phone, the Galaxy Note 20, I think is what it is. They're promoting it with Xcloud. They have a bundle where it comes with like the clip and everything. And like,
so they're pushing it.
Yeah, they're taking advantage of it. And I'll be honest, like I was playing today. You saw me playing today. I was playing Destiny.
Yeah.
I have what is this? I can't even remember. 11, the normal one. And the screen's a good size, but I wish it was bigger. And I know the Note is bigger.
That's the whole thing of the Notes.
Yeah, so it's actually perfect. Like I'm even like, maybe I should get the Note, because I want to do that. I want to be able to play games. And the other thing too is that, you have to have a phone that's compatible with 5G in order to really maximize it. Like unless you're connected to a 5G network when we're here at home. That's why I can't be able to take my controller on the go when I'm, shooting houses and stuff, is because my phone isn't 5G compatible.
Yeah.
But if it is, and I do get a 5G network, then like that's so nice. And that's where I want, and am excited for it, basically. So yeah, Samsung is definitely taking advantage of that.
Yeah, they're marketing it, they're pushing it. Yeah, and that would save you from your awkward amount of time in between houses where you're like, do I go home? Do I go get coffee I can't really afford? That gives you like a moment to be in your car and be like, well, I'll just do a round of this or a round of that and kill the 20 minutes I've got. It is good for people on the go.
Yeah.
And it is smart for Samsung to be pushing it when they're going to be able to offer it, and they know it's going to be like, gamers are a thing now. Like it's not that niche thing anymore. It's a very widespread thing, and we're the generation buying all this technology, so it's smart to market towards us.
Yeah. But I want to know what you guys think about Apple's decision to not have Xcloud on the Apple Store. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you an Apple person who owns an Apple product? Is this and a gamer? Like, I want to know if this is like, I'm just gonna, F off with them or whatever, or if you really don't care. But let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I think the Apple gamer is really like the person who's gonna have the best insight on this, because neither of us really own too many Apple things anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to how much this affects the decision in the future. So we're curious.
Yeah.
Tell us your thoughts.
Now brings us to question of the week. Remember, everybody, you can follow us on Twitter at LxMDuo and respond to our question of the week, and we might feature your answer here on the show. So this week's question of the week, we're going to keep it nostalgic still, since our last episode was really nostalgic, and I had a good time talking about all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to hear a lot of you guys enjoyed it as well. So our question of the week for this week is, if you can pick one game to be remade or remastered, what game would that be? I had a few responses, so let's go down the line. Dogman says Pokemon Stadium, but only the mini games.
Totally fair. I think
Yes.
anyone who plays Pokemon Stadium didn't really play it for the battles that much.
I mean,
Ish.
yes and no. Like people, like I mean, the battles are great, you know, but now compared to we have Sword and Shield, which the battles are pretty much almost like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think really what the nostalgia really hits when you look back at those mini games. I don't know how many times we've talked about them here on this show, but
They're chef's kiss.
yeah, but that would be so good, right? Imagine like just like a high res version of them, maybe even like because I know like Pokemon Stadium 2 also had some mini games, and add those mini games in there, add some more, like I would love it. Or like imagine like a Mario Party, but like
Ooh.
with Pokemon, right?
That would be amazing.
Pokemon Party, and like have those mini games plus a ton more.
That's brilliant.
There you go, Nintendo. That was a free one for you.
Or at the very least, yeah, like you said, because we kind of have a game where you already get the whole battle thing and like really nice graphics and everything, just do like a mini game pack.
Yeah.
Like as simple as that. $20 remastered mini. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna keep hitting this until I like remember it's there. Yeah, just like a mini game pack, remastered, redone, and that's all you released.
Yeah.
I
honestly,
agree, Dogman.
Yeah, that would be great. Because then also with like the power of the internet, you can play online with friends. Like, be so nice. Because we keep saying we're like, oh, we gotta have friends over here, but we're like, we're trying to be responsible.
Trying.
Yeah, we're being responsible, and we're not, doing anything crazy or anything like that. So, that would be really good and really nice right now. And we've already seen that they're doing Pokemon Snap, right? So, it's they're already hitting us with the nostalgia of Pokemon Snap. Just take it a step forward and just do Pokemon Stadium.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Adrian also responded, and I can, again, Adrian and I grew up together, so we have a lot of things that are very similar, a lot of opinions that are very similar, and I 100% agree with Adrian on this one. Republic Commando. He just went back and he beat it again, and it was totally wishing for a remake like Resident Evil 2 or 3 with added advanced squad controls and finding out what happened to our brother Sev. Love that game. So spoilers to anybody who's not played the game. It leaves on a cliffhanger, and one of your brothers is missing, and you don't know whether he made it or not. And he is one of the coolest characters in the game, and that game is so cool. Like, and they didn't do a sequel at all. And when Lucas, sold the Star Wars franchise over to Disney, all that stuff was considered not canon anymore. So yeah, so that game technically doesn't really exist in the actual timeline. So it sucks. I would love for them to make a Republic Commando remake as well. I completely agree in the way that the Resident Evil 2 and 3 did it. Resident Evil 2 and 3, those remakes were so good. Beautifully done on a brand new engine, and they took the control schemes from the original Resident Evil 2 and 3, which were fixed cameras, tank controls, and they just did over the shoulder just like they did with 4. And people love them. So if they do something not like that, like change the perspective, but like just polish it up, make it super nice, do a complete from the ground up remake, kind of like they did with, like I said, Resident Evil, Spyro, all that stuff. Like that would be so cool. I love Republic Commando. Like I can't stop saying it, but it's such a great game. I know you have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah. But yeah, that's a great answer. Alexis through Rona's Twitter because he doesn't have a Twitter.
Oh, I was wondering why. That makes sense.
He said Star Wars Racer, which was the pod racing one.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, so basically every old Star Wars game has been redone in recent years, not Republic Commando. But there hasn't been a pod racing game since the PS2. With some great graphics, newer planets, and today's racing engines, it would be insane. It would be insane. Recently, Nintendo did put out Pod Racer, ironically, on the eShop. They did a kind of HD remake of it. So I mean, go play that if you're really itching for a Pod Racer game. Just go replay that. But it's like remaking an entire game from that would be super cool. Like I 100% agree with it. And like the other day, I showed you that Wipeout like game, right?
One?
The one where like it's like sorry, it's not the Wipeout what you guys are thinking of Fall Guys right now, but the racing one, the
Oh,
hover vehicles, like almost like F-Zero,
yeah.
right? Like there's a new game called Pacer, which is a weird name by the way. I don't know why they named it that. That's like a spiritual successor to games like Wipeout or F-Zero, which are just these like, hover vehicles that just go through, kind of like Mario Kart 8, where you're like looping around and everything. Oh, it's so cool. And I would love to see that as well, and they're obviously doing that, but like in the same vein as like having a pod racer like be like that, that'd be
Do a
really, really
Star Wars
cool.
version,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah,
where
that's what
it's
I'm trying
in
to say.
space and it's
Hmm.
or not in space because I know the races aren't in space, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Star Wars pod racer would be really cool. That would be, I mean, they're doing Rogue Squadron, right? They're doing Squadrons again. And the fact that they're doing that is pretty insane. And that's very niche. So
So there's hope.
there is hope, but I know that they're kind of going to the end of the line as far as like their deal with with Disney for the rights of Star Wars. So who knows if they'll be even be able to push that out or if they're gonna just redo another. Sorry, they're gonna redo the contract or something like that. But
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see. This past couple years have been really heavy with remakes and remasters and stuff like that. And I just want to give a lot of credit to a handful of ones here. We have Resident Evil 2 and 3, amazing. Final Fantasy 7 coming out,
Beautiful.
yeah, beautiful. What a crazy way to completely change the original way you played the game, but modernize it with beautiful graphics and still have that kind of turn-based combat, but more traditional like hack and slash like they did with Final Fantasy 15. So kudos to them. Who knows how many chapters they're gonna do and how many games they're gonna do or how much they're gonna stretch it because they stretched the crap out of this first part.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they do that. And little Spyro as well. Spyro was a great from the ground up remake that completely held up. I know that you love playing that game.
Amazing. Like
Mhm.
they did so much justice to Spyro. That game, they didn't have the original groundwork.
Mhm.
So they had to literally play the old game and find every asset. They had to play through it as they were making it.
Wow.
Because it wasn't something they could just reskin
Mhm.
because the assets were lost.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a completely new game, but you couldn't tell in the best way possible.
Yeah, when I see, the trailers that they show where they show like the old game and they layer it on top and they switch it, I completely thought it was like, oh, they just like reskinned it. And it's like it's so impressive that like they just from the ground up, they remade it. Not only Spyro 1, but all 3.
All 3 amazing.
Mhm.
Like
What a great deal too. $40 for 4 games. I mean 3 games.
who did it? Toys for Bob.
Toys for Bob, yeah.
Amazing. Like huge shout out to them. Like they killed it.
Yeah.
As a huge Spyro fan, like I couldn't have been happier.
Yeah, seriously. Which Toys for Bob also did the Crash Insane trilogy as well.
Haven't gotten around to playing,
Mhm.
but I probably will at some point pick that one up just because I wasn't as big of a fan of Crash, but I liked Crash, and with how good they did with Spyro, I'm sure that game is amazing as well.
Yeah, and then the Crash Team Racing as well, and then they're doing Crash 4, About Time or whatever. So those again another great remake. Shadow of the Colossus also was an amazing remake from a PS1 game that they, Team Eco I think is what it was. They did, and we can't forget about Halo Master Chief Collection. Like they redid Halo 1, and then they also redid Halo 2, which oh my lord, the cinematics in that Halo 2 was insane, incredible. And not only did they bring these to Xbox where they originally were released, but they've been slowly putting them on PC, like porting them to PC. We've had Halo Reach, Halo 1, Halo 2, and recently Halo 3. Like it's actually crazy that you can go and get Halo. You can play 5 Halo games in one. Like just bring me ODST Firefight and I'll be happy. Like please, ODST is so good. I love that game. But I just wanted to shout those out before we get into our picks. So I went first last time, so I want you to go. If you were to pick one game to be remastered, what game would that be?
Okay, so I think I've said this before. I had a list of 3
Yes.
that I've had for years.
Mhm.
And so I've been very fortunate that 2 of my 3 got remade, and that was Spyro,
Yep.
and then we have Pokemon Snap being remade.
Yeah.
So, and so I'm so thankful that like to see slowly the games that I loved are being remade, and they're going to be new to play. The only one that is left on my list, and the one I have the least amount of faith in,
Mm-hmm.
is Jet Set Radio or Jet Grind Radio, depending on what country you're from.
Yeah.
And I just, I love that game so much,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so awful to play.
Yeah.
Like, just compared to modern day controls where everything is so smooth, everything is so like, you do like it. What is the word where like you do something and it works right? Like,
It's just like fluid or
yeah, like
yeah.
just since that game came out, and at the time it was a little clunky and it was a little frustrating, but it was good at the time.
Yeah.
Going back to it, it's impossible to play. Like, I've tried. I had it on PC, I have it on my Xbox, and even though I love that game so much, I think the aesthetic is amazing. The level design is great. Everything is great except for the controls.
Yeah.
And it's almost unplayable for me, which is the saddest thing ever, because there's so many times I sit here and I'm like, I want to play Jet Set. I pick it up, I start trying to play it, and I just get so frustrated.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's just Sega doesn't really seem to revisit old franchises at all. They're really still stuck on that Sonic thing, and that seems to be the only focus they really have outside of the arcade,
Mm-hmm.
which I get. My thing with Jet Set Radio has always been, I've always said this game, just like the console it released on the Dreamcast,
Mm-hmm.
was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
This game, it's got a cult following for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sad to see that Sega just doesn't do anything with the franchise, because with today's, controls and how fluid things are, and playing other games that kind of give me that same feeling. Like, what was the game? Sunset Overdrive?
Yeah.
Even like wall running and stuff, and like Titanfall and everything shows me how good it could feel to be skating in that game and then to be tagging things. Like, I know it would work now.
Yeah.
So that's the game that, if I had one other game that I could get, no questions asked, it would be Jet Set Radio. I just think it would play so much better today. And the funny thing is, the graphics even hold up to what graphics still look good for what they are, because they did the whole cell shading thing.
Yeah,
but
they
even
did.
like with like a nice modern
Mm-hmm.
polish on it, I think that game would do so good.
Yeah.
If they would do something with it.
No, I agree. And I mean, there kind of is a spiritual successor on the way. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is a game that was recently announced, and it actually has the original composer for the music. So if you love the music in, Jet Set Radio, like it's great. Like there is, okay, so the premise of that game though is like, it's almost the same thing, but there's no grinding. There's no like, it's not like you're not like roller skating like you were in Jet Set Radio. But it has a lot of good movement. So it's kind of like Sunset Overdrive, where you would dash in midair, like jump, and you can grind on things and stuff like that. So the movement is still there, the aesthetics are still there, and the music is there. So if Sega's not going to do it, then somebody else will.
I'm glad someone's trying to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad other people see the potential in the idea. I'm a little bit of that like elitist though, where I'm like, but it's not Jet Set Radio.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely something I would give it a shot, because, and I'll go into this in a little bit, I thought the same thing with Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
Kind of had that elitist, like, well, it's not Harvest Moon attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And that game ended up just being, I'll get into that.
Okay. Do you want to go? Do you want to get into it now, or do you want me to go?
No,
or?
go ahead and do yours, and then I want to discuss the negatives of
Okay.
of a remake, I guess.
Okay. So I had to think about it, because like a lot of the games that I really enjoy, like I really like, and they're fine. Like I don't think they need a remake. Like I've talked about, Diddy Kong Racing and Star Fox 64, and those got ported over to like the 3DS, which amazing. Like I love that they brought that. Ocarina of Time also got brought over, and Majora's Mask, so like I can't complain. On top of that, when they did Wind Waker for the Wii U, although the Wii U sucked ass, like Wind Waker on the Wii U is so beautiful, and they fixed a lot of things about what made that game really a drag to go through. So I'm really happy that they did that. I've said this before, and I'll say it a million times. Mass Effect the original Mass Effect if they just remake it with the, control screens of Mass Effect 2 and just make it a lot easier for people to play. That is such a fantastic franchise that people didn't get a chance to play because they couldn't get past the first Mass Effect.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
The controls were so bad I couldn't do it.
I completely understand, but my lord, people are missing out on so much. But my number one choice, and something, because of the discussion of Resident Evil 2 and 3 have been coming up, they're like, oh, they're going to continue down the line and they're going to do 4, which is weird because 4 is already taking that over the shoulder thing. They started that. That was the first game that branched off from the tank controls, and they did that. So for me, it's kind of weird that they would go to 4, as much as I love 4, and I would love to have like a beautiful remake with the RE engine. That would be amazing. I love Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil, and I know the original Resident Evil is already a remake of the original Resident Evil.
Yeah, I was gonna say they just released one a few years ago.
Well, no, it wasn't a few. No, that's so.
What am I thinking of?
I don't know, but. Okay, so the original super campy Resident Evil came out on the PlayStation, I think. It was super polygonal and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Terrible voice acting, and it was bad.
Did they just reskin that?
No, they remade it from the ground up for GameCube, on GameCube. And that game is so good. And I love Resident Evil 1. And I want them to do the same thing they did with Resident Evil 2 and 3, but bring it to Resident Evil 1. Because although they did a soft reboot with Resident Evil 7 where they brought out first person and they kind of did that Resident Evil 1, mood where they go to a mansion and there's other stuff and all that stuff, I just want the original game to be remade because it's super atmospheric, very, very terrifying, and the iconic mansion, you can't just reboot it and make the what was their house, the Baker family's house, like their mansion. Like, you need to have the iconic mansion. So that is my pick. I love Resident Evil. And that's what I would want. So yeah. So remakes can be great, but sometimes remakes and pulling on nostalgia can only get you so far.
Doesn't always work.
Yes.
So yeah. So coming kind of full circle back to remakes and being so excited for them. As I said, like, I've kind of having that elitist attitude when I'm like, oh, Jet Set Radio, but it's not really Jet Set Radio. So how good can it be? Mm-hmm. I need to always remember that Stardew Valley happened. And Stardew Valley, for anyone who may not know, is a farming simulation game, which sounds ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound fun, doesn't sound great. The kind of leader in that genre was always the Harvest Moon series.
Yeah.
Or
Story of Seasons.
Yes. So there's a lot of controversy, a lot of drama behind the franchise in America. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we're just gonna go with the Harvest Moon franchise, not the story of. I don't know. That's a whole other kind of thing to get into. But yeah, so Harvest Moon was the leaders in this genre, and gosh, like early 2000s. I remember picking up Harvest Moon, Friends of Mineral Town,
yeah,
on the Game Boy Advance, and that was one of those life-changing games for me. You know what I mean? Like, I had a friend who was like, "Oh my gosh, Harvest Moon's great. You'd really love it." And I remember him telling me about it, and thinking that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. And
I remember, but I got the game anyways, and just fell in love. Like, it's a very grindy game, and it's farming. It's also a life simulator. You have to go and you have to get married. You have to friend all the villagers. You have these missions, but your whole thing is to constantly be selling things.
Yeah.
And to be making money and getting your house upgrades and things like that. So when the Harvest Moon franchise kind of started going downhill, long story short, it continued in Japan. They lost the naming license here, and another company took over under the Harvest Moon franchise.
Yeah.
But the actual Harvest Moon games that were still being made in Japan by the same company are now under Story of Seasons.
Yeah.
It's a very complicated, weird legal thing. Mm-hmm. But Harvest Moon today is not the same Harvest Moon games.
Yeah.
But so under all of that, a single developer went and created Stardew Valley, which was basically a love letter, kind of like we were talking about with the Jet Set Radio thing.
Yeah.
To Harvest Moon, that kind of genre. And I downloaded that game and I played the crap out of it.
You did.
You can ask Stream. I was obsessed with that game. It was everything the Harvest Moon was times 10, just done so much better. And I don't know how one person did this. That guy is amazing. Anyways, long story short is about a month ago.
Yeah.
Story of Seasons,
Mm-hmm.
also known as the Harvest Moon, released a complete and total remake of Friends of Mineral Town for the Wii.
Yeah.
And I think on PC as well. And so you would think, right? You would think like this is everything I would want. I loved that game. I was obsessed with that game. But it just kind of comes down to sometimes the nostalgia just isn't enough. I watched some people play it on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
because for some reason I wasn't just really excited about it. I don't know what it was at first.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this should be something I should be jumping for joy with. I should be like so ecstatic. And this is something that you would think I would just go out and buy day one because I love that game. I had hundreds of hours in that game. But it just didn't call to me. It wasn't one of those games that I was just like, yeah, I need it.
Yeah.
I want to replay that. Like sometimes the nostalgia just isn't enough because what I realized at the end of the day is that game at the time was great, but it goes back into it's probably been about 15 years, 20 years. The gameplay is not as good when you compare to things that are being created today.
Yeah.
Things are like the guy who did Stardew Valley took everything that was great about Harvest Moon and made it even better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like going back to this, the gameplay is really stale and it's
Yeah.
really boring and it's just not, it was engaging at the time. At the time, it was fabulous. Today, not so much. And I think the nail in the coffin for this game is it's a $50 game.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And anyone who's been playing it, even the people who adore it, said this is a $20 game at most. The amount of content you get in it and the amount of things you get out of this, it's a story by story, beat for beat map remake. It's just a prettier version. You have Stardew, which has tons more content. You have Stardew, which has so much more to offer for $15.
Wow.
And that game is constantly being updated still to this day. They just added new end game content and he's never asked for another dollar from anybody. So it's kind of interesting when you just have that other spectrum, the other realm, because why I want Jet Set Radio remade is because it's such a unique concept that still to this day has not been done justice to the original.
Yeah.
When you have a oversaturated genre though, which I guess it's not super oversaturated, but it's someone took what was great and did it even better. So it just feels like you're going back.
Yeah.
You're taking like 2 steps back by remaking this game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all. I just kind of wanted to, because like I said, Harvest Moon is one of my favorite games. And I just think it's interesting that I'm not interested in it at all. But there's so many, but we're in that time, like you said, of remakes and remasters where you think I'd be excited, but nostalgia doesn't always carry things.
Yeah.
A concept has to be still unique and interesting to this day or have some sort of interesting thing carrying it, like a character that is so nostalgic like Spyro.
Yeah.
Or a concept that's so interesting. Graffiti artists, skaters in Tokyo. Harvest Moon's been done, and it's been done better since that game came out.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate. That price tag,
No, for sure.
nail in the coffin.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other thing. Like for an example, like Devil May Cry, right? When DMC was remade, like that was not the direction that they wanted to go, and they redeemed themselves by then the actual studio doing, Devil May Cry 5. But it just goes back into like a franchise can't carry it even if you do like a reimagining, and that's a whole other thing as well. Like reimaginings of game or soft reboots, like God of War and the Modern Warfare and DMC and stuff.
Tomb Raider.
Yeah, Tomb Raider, which but that's a whole other discussion. So
another time.
Another time. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Speaking of, so
yeah,
I want to know what you guys think. What game you would pick to be remade or remastered? If you haven't, let us know in the comments below.
If you haven't already responded, here's your opportunity.
Yeah, there you go. And once again, if you want your question or your answer read aloud here and featured on Power On Weekly, make sure to follow us on Twitter at LxMDuo. We post the questions Wednesday or Thursday. Thursday the latest.
Thursday, Friday, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. End of the week.
Yeah. But I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Thank you once again for joining us. And we will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.